It was not a narrow part of the channel. We were south of it, where the channel you have to fly almost north in order to get up to London, for instance.
Okay, right.
Not west. Anyhow,
Wait, oh, by the way, were they all G models by that time?
yes.
Did you have any F models
Yes,
left?
I'm sure of that, because that's the only thing that we flew.
Because they had the
in,
little nose torn up in the front.
yes.
Okay. All right. So you had to do a kind of a crash landing just before you got to the French coast.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we knew we were going to get across.
All
We were
right.
going to get wet if we went over that way.
Okay. And
So-
we didn't have any auxiliary airfields there yet that
Not
you could
when
get
we
to.
were.
Not
Well,
when you
we-
were.
I'm trying to tell you, I
Yes,
don't
sir.
think the navigator knew exactly where we were.
It kind of sounds like that when he said, "I'll get back to let you know." It's not
Well,
a very good situation. He doesn't know where he is. Okay.
well, it took us a week or 10 days to get back to Netteshaw,
Okay.
and about that time we kind of lost our navigator.
All right. How did y'all get back, by the way? Did anybody get injured on that crash landing?
No,
No.
but we could have very easily tipped that airplane over because he had that ball turret hanging out in the bottom, and the pilot was able to land the thing and keep it from tipping over.
Was it a belly landing, or did you still have hydraulics to get the gear down?
Oh, no gear.
No gear.
No, it just
It's a
went
belly
down.
landing.
Yeah. So it was,
But at least you didn't have to bail out. It was a controlled.
yeah, and well, we didn't catch fire either, you know.
You just had you lost 2 inches that were shot out, and then so you got as far as you could get, and then you just belly landed on the farm field or something. Okay.
Yeah, we got in, we ended up, I should tell you, there's a little story to that too.
Okay.
The police, I suppose, got help and took us into, it was a British place where the mechanics overhauled the trucks that got damaged or needed repair, you know.
Okay.
And British trucks. There were no officers there. There was a top sergeant of some kind that ran the place. There wasn't a whole lot of people. It was just a big garage, you know,
Okay,
like
yeah.
an auto garage, truck garage. But he kept us there for a couple of days. The thing that I remember is that we ate in the sergeant's mess. In the British place, he was the only sergeant there, and he always ate by himself
Okay.
until we came, and so he shared his place with us. Otherwise, he would have been eating all by himself,
Okay.
because the sergeants didn't eat with other enlisted men.
Right.
So
Correct.
that's very important to understand. I
Yes,
guess
sir.
I still don't understand it, but that's the way it was. I don't know where the officers were eating, but they didn't eat with us either. They didn't
Okay.
eat with the sergeants because the officers eat by themselves.
Correct.
But he got them food someplace or other.
And where were y'all billeted at that time? Were you sleeping out there at that garage, or did they get you?
Well, I
outfitted
just don't
somewhere?
remember where we were sleeping there.
Okay.
But we were there for, I think, a couple of nights. And
Okay.
the sergeant was supposed to be communicating with his command that he had an American air crew there that wanted to get back home.
Okay.
And nothing was happening, so the pilot said, well, really what we ought to do is find us an air base close by and see if that would be a good way to get home. And so he took us to a British air base, and which was probably about 50 or 70 miles away. And I'll tell you this story because we got there in about the middle of the night,
Okay.
almost midnight, And there was a guard that we had to go past this place. You didn't have a fence around those places, you just had a guard.
Okay.
And he didn't know what to do with us, so he called who I think was probably the officer of the day that is supposed to take care of very unusual things.
Okay.
So he come out and he asked us all kinds of serious questions, and I guess he didn't like the answers he was getting.
Now this is a British officer, right?
Yeah, he
This
was
is a British Air Base, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how he ranked it, but I would say probably a first lieutenant, what we would call a first lieutenant. So
Okay.
maybe he was a lieutenant or first lieutenant or something.
Okay.
Finally, said, well, I guess he figured he had to kind of let us in, at least for the time being. He asked us if we had had anything to eat lately, and the pilot said no. And he said, well, we have the private's mess that's open at midnight. They're for the enlisted men that had night duty of some kind.
Okay.
And he says that's the only place you can eat, but he says if you want to eat there, you can. And the pilot says that sounds okay to me, so we'll eat there. And this British officer got a real wide grin that went clear up to his ears. And I still remember that. He says, well, I know you're Americans. Because he said the officers would have said, no, we'll wait for breakfast.
That's right. The British officers are too proud to eat with the list.
And we were all claimed to be sergeants, and he said the sergeants would want to know if this was just for privates. Like he called it a private mess.
Right, he did.
And he said if you were German, you would have said no. We'll wait, you know. But so anyhow, we decided we were Americans, and we stayed there, I think, 2 nights.
Okay.
And then there was a B-17 came over from Nethershall and picked us up, I think, and took us home. So I don't remember the details of that, but that's what happened.
Had y'all been reported missing in action?
Yes.
You know, when you got back to your hooch, was your bed and gear packed up and put away?
Well, what was left of it, yes.
Yeah. Because people thought you weren't coming back.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I understand that happened a lot. That when the plane didn't come back from whatever mission, they would go in and clear out your room because they needed bodies to put in that bed. So you think that
Well,
happened in
the
your
first
case
thing
also?
that happened was the other guys in the barracks went through our stuff, and if there's anything worthwhile, they'd take that.
Yeah.
It would be a while before the first sergeant would come down or send somebody down to collect all the stuff.
Yeah. So they'd already rummaged through that. They'd already gone through that stage. Because you're about 4 or 5 days in to Downing. So
We're missing in action
Yeah.
for that long time, yeah. And I remember gathering the people in the barracks together, and I said, we're missing a lot of stuff. And I said, I'm going to take my gang back down to the sergeant's club and have a few beers. And when we come back, I want to find all of our stuff sitting on top of our bed. That I don't care about candy bars and cookies and that sort of thing, but I am concerned about stuff like wristwatches and billfolds and money and that sort of thing. So,
okay.
and I said, if it's not sitting on the bed the way that I and my crew think it ought to be, we're going to kind of clean house around here, and I mean that. So, and then we went down and had some beer, and he came back and saw
There you go.
I saw it sitting on top of the bed, yeah.
Honor among thieves.
Well, I wasn't a mean guy, but
Yeah.
I knew when to talk and when to keep my mouth shut, mostly.
I mean, it's one thing if you're gone and not coming back, you know, for sure. You know.
Well, it wasn't more than a few days after that. The pilot said they were going to get a new navigator. So we flew one navigator one time on a mission. I don't remember who he was, and I guess he was all right. But then we had another one that he flew on our next mission.
Okay.
And I think the pilot kind of liked him, but I was walking down to the mess hall one time about then, and lo and behold, the pilot started walking in beside me, because their barracks was right kind of next to ours, the officers was. And this didn't happen often. I think it happened twice while I was there, but this is one of the times. And while we were walking along, he mentioned that on our last mission, we had this navigator. What did you think about him? And I said I thought he was okay. And I said the reason was that with the navigator that we had, when you asked him for a heading to home, he said, I'll figure it out and get back to you. I said that you asked this guy that same question. And I said, maybe you don't remember, but that's what you did. And he snapped right back at you. He gave you a heading and a ETA, a time of arrival.
That's a sharp navigator.
Well,
Yeah.
it was in his head already. I mean, he didn't have to look it up. I said, that's the kind of navigator that I like to have. And the pilot said, well, that sounds kind of like where I'm at. But he said, I kind of wanted to know what the rest of the crew might think about him. He said he's a Jew, you know. And I said, I didn't make any difference to me, and I wouldn't make any difference to the rest of the crew either. When he does his work the way that he's doing, you know, he's the kind of a navigator we want to have. So
Okay.
anyhow, we kept him for the rest of the time we were there.
Okay.
That was, I think it was all of February and our time in March. So.
Okay.
His name was Arenowitz, Albert.